Gary Kemp was 1/5 of one of the biggest boy bands in the 80s and beyond, selling over 25 million albums as part of Spandau Ballet. It's crazy, but it's true. Please welcome Gary Kemp. Welcome, Gary. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. New music in the new year for all of us then, Gary. Yeah, new album on the way.
Yeah, it's called This Destination, and it's coming out at the end of January, but there's some tracks available now. It's always quite nerve-wracking when you release a solo record, because it's all on you. You've got no one else to blame but yourself.
How long has it taken you to do that?
I suppose I've been working on this one for about a year and a half or so, maybe a bit earlier. And because in the meantime, I'm also touring with Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, so we did a few months touring this year as well.
What do you call your group, you and Nick Mason?
It's called Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets. So it's all the psychedelic period.
Oh, yeah. That's when I first knew Pink Floyd, was my husband did the light show for the Blobs,
oh,
you know,
wow.
back in the 60s.
Well, we still use blobs in our show. I think they're different blobs.
Yeah, don't ask a witch husband, because it's been...
Gary, I first met you before you had the record deal when I did that film with Spandau Ballet. I was a TV producer. What was the year? Can you remember?
Yeah,
Just before you signed the deal.
It was 1980, and we were a bunch of working-class kids from Islington.
You were a bit frightening, Gary. I've got to say that. Now I realise there was something else going on behind that facade, but you and your brother you had the amazing outfits on. You had the blouses, the full new romantic.
Well, I used to get my mum to make stuff. We used to get bits of paper and stick them together and then draw trousers, and she was a seamstress and she'd put all this weird stuff together. We had a big following of kind of crazy-looking kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it was great, though. I loved that fashion.
She made this documentary about us, and it
she's
got
been
us the
around
record deal.
centuries.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
We hired a theatre in London, in Charlotte Street.
Yeah.
You were introduced by Bob Elms,
right.
reading a very pretentious poem, and then you and your brother and Tony come out, and I'm just thinking, it's amazing. You was like nothing I'd seen before.
Thank you.
You
gave me my house.
But now you're still making music by yourself. And it's great.
I mean, I think now I'm at the right age to do stuff on my own. I've done 3 solo albums. I think, it's very difficult to be in a gang when you're my age and make all those compromises. I think, I tend to write songs about myself.
And this album's very like that, isn't it? Sort of semi-autobiographical, really. It's like having a conversation with yourself and looking back over the years, really, to a certain extent.
I think there's a track on there called Work, which was about my dad. He took me to where he worked when I was a kid, and he was a printer in a factory. Yeah. And I remember walking down into the basement and the noise of the machines. And my dad opened his locker and he took out a brown overall and he put it on. And as he put it on, it was like Superman putting his cape on. I felt so proud of it. And, he had a great work ethic. And so did my mum, who worked as a dinner lady, actually. And I feel sometimes that, my job has been so easy and privileged, but at the same time, the bit that stresses you the most is the same that stressed him. It's how do you work things out? How do you live your life and feel proud? And I remember my dad having a breakdown when he was younger as well, trying to put food on the table for us. So I wrote a song about that called Work. And
But speaking of your brother, I was really interested in it. I laughed out loud because you weren't happy when he first came along, were you? Let the audience know what you did when he was about 2. No, you were 2 and he was a baby.
He was younger than that, and I know what you're referring to.
Yes.
He came at home as a baby.
There you are, look. Like butter wouldn't melt.
Wow.
Now tell them the story.
Oh, wow. So he was in his cot, I remember, in our bedroom, and I poured a tin of syrup onto his face. And because that wasn't enough, I got a bag of sugar and poured that on top. And I remember just seeing these little air bubbles coming through till my mum found him.
Oh, my...
And then we went out for a ride in the big pram that he had. And my mum went back in the house to get something, and I just pushed it in the road. But it tipped up.
That's sibling rivalry to a new level, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And luckily he survived.
Gary, you've wrote songs for Spandau Ballet. You're writing your own stuff. How did you start writing songs in the first place?
Oh, well, I got given a guitar out of the blue for Christmas by my parents, and I was 11, and it was a Burt Weedon Play in a Day book.
Oh, yeah.
And I learnt 4 chords. I think it was like If I Had a Hammer. And I remember playing these 4 chords, If I Had a Hammer, and thinking, well, I like the chords, but I really don't like the music. So I'll write my own. And I just immediately wasn't interested in writing, in playing other people's music. Just kept writing. And then I had this wonderful man called Trevor Huddleston, who was the Bishop of Stepney, and he'd heard me play 2 songs at my old school at the prize giving. And he came to our house one Thursday evening. I know it was a Thursday because Top of the Pops was on. Rod Stewart was singing Maggie May. And he gave me a cassette record. He said, every time you write a song, record it on this cassette and send it to me in Stepney. And I did that for years and years.
That's amazing.
And I never saw him again until 1986 when I did an Artist Against Apartheid concert in Clapham Common, and he had organised the whole thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Brilliant man.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Talking about band, or of course Live Aid today, it's, we saw all over this morning today with Elton, or I was going to say Elton John.
Band-Aid, yes.
With Bob Geldof, of
Yeah.
course. 40th anniversary, Gary. I mean, what are your memories of that, and still the importance of talking about it, and the importance that music has in getting people to sit up and listen to what's needed out there?
You know, I watched it last night, actually, the documentary, and it was, you know, what impressed me was the youth, and the energy of so many young people, all doing something that, you know, without any grown-ups in the room, all trying to make something because they were so horrified by what they'd seen, and taking their global power. We were 25-year-olds,
Absolutely.
like this global energy, and trying to change something for good.
And we're still needing to change, sadly, 40 years on, with different conflicts and different issues across the world. Gary, your new album, This Destination, out the 31st of January. So new music for the new year. Thank you very much, Gary. Thanks very much.